Good evening, Thresholds of Reality. Welcome to the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Tonight we are talking to Jeff and Pam Woolwine. Jeff was on our show just a couple weeks ago, telling us all about his UFO encounters. And
Such a fun interview.
tonight he's joined by Pam, his lovely bride, and they're here to talk to us about haunted encounter adventures. Strap in as we explore the edges of the unknown. All right, so here we are. Jeff,
Live.
Jeff, you were holding out on us. Didn't tell us that Pam was so delightful. But I'm glad to have you back on the show, Jeff, and glad to
Thanks,
have Pam
sir.
with you to tell us all about the spooky adventures that you guys have. So tell me, what is Haunted Encounter Adventures and how can we be a part of it?
Okay, so I am the creator of Haunted Encounter Adventures on YouTube, and we have a Facebook group, Haunted Encounter Adventures, and I'm like, what I like to do is with my films, I call them films or episodes because it's not your average like. I mean, when you go on YouTube or you see other investigations, on television, they're just some people in a dark room with infrared lights, talking to ghosts. I go a step further. I'm more of a filmmaker, okay, and that's what I like to do with these episodes. So what I like to do is I like to go out and film the location first, and then I go back and I dig up the history. First we want to find out if there's, if the place is haunted or not. Then we go off and we film and we do seances. I use a spirit box, a ghost spirit box, and I have an SLS camera, and I put it all together. I make this like half an hour long show out of it. It's like a little, it's like a mini movie, if you will. Nothing is hoaxed in it. Everything you see is real. We're not out there trying to get hits by people with strings on chairs moving stuff in front of the camera. No, this is true stuff. Everything that you see on our website, on our YouTube channel, is real. It's all edited down. I save the good stuff and chop the bad stuff. So I keep it interesting, and it's really fun. And so that's what Haunted Encounter Adventures is all about. It's not just someone out there doing ghost hunts, with night vision cameras in the dark. This is something complete. These are mini films, and I think the public would uh, like this a little bit more than just regular ghost hunting. And so yeah, that's what I like to do. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a ghost hunter, and from there, I'll let my beautiful wife Pam take it over, and you guys can have a wonderful conversation.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, Pam, thank you so much for joining us. Jeff didn't tell us he had such a charming bride waiting in the wings. Um, Now we were at the same meet and greet a couple months ago, which was a meet and greet for people who like to do ghost hunts or ghost paranormal investigations. And um, one of the things that we did was we met Rebecca Walker, and she brought her friend on to the show last week. And you saw their show and you said, you know what? They had a good time. I want to have a good time on this show. And tell me how you got in touch with Kyle and how that all played out.
Um, I saw the show with Wendy. Wendy's a good friend of ours. We do a lot of stuff with her. We did something Saturday with her. Becca wasn't able to make it. Bummer. But yeah, I saw the show and then I just started. I don't really know how I found Kyle. Um, I don't remember. I guess I looked on the page and found him and Jeff had already been on the show before for his UFO stuff, so
Hmm.
he knew how to contact him. But I think I made a comment on Wendy's post, and I said, "Oh my God, you made that look so fun, Wendy. I want to do it." And then Kyle saw that, and then
Absolutely.
I
I think
came
that's
home.
exactly. Is that how it played out, Kyle?
Yeah, and then like I saw her post a couple times, and she said Jeff was on, and I said Jeff was awesome. And then yeah, blame me, Jedi. But yeah, then you messaged me, and then I was, we started talking, and then I got all excited. So here you are. I love hearing people's stories.
Speaking of stories, so Pam, you sent us several videos, video clips for us to show tonight. But I wanted to start with a question, which is, how did you get involved in hunting ghosts?
How did we get started with that? I mean, Jeff just I don't know. I
You
don't know
never had any
how. I mean,
prior experiences, or
I
that,
have. I've had experiences since I was a kid. I've just had different experiences, throughout my life. So I've always known, but I just never. I guess when you gotta be with the right person to bring that out in you to get, you know, more interested in it. Because I never was around anybody before that. Most of the time when you talk about it, they're like, woo.
yep, you're crazy.
That's how they look at you. So, it's like you got to be around the right person, to feel comfortable enough to. And at first, to be honest with you, at first, when he started doing stuff, getting equipment, I was hesitant because I'm like, I'm kind of leery of this. I'm not sure it's safe.
You're not
But
sure it's safe?
yeah, because I've heard people have horror stories about things that can happen. You know,
Like what?
there. Well, people get scratched. People get stuff in their house. We've had stuff in our other apartment. We just moved here, and we had some crazy stuff going on in our other apartment that I'm I'm thinking didn't follow us. I mean, I haven't noticed yet. We've only been here for a month, so I don't think it followed us. We haven't had the same activity yet, but
So you think something
yeah, we had
followed you to your old apartment?
he's had stuff happen at his other apartment in Phoenix. He had some weird stuff happen there.
Yeah, we
When
saw the videos of
when
the
I came out
South
here from
Mountain.
North Carolina, so he was already living in Phoenix, and I moved out here from. I just jumped in my car and came out here.
That sounds
And
very familiar. That's about what my wife did.
yeah, I literally came. I just packed my car up and came out here and like, hey Jeff, I'm moving in with you. But he was having some weird stuff happen in his apartment, that apartment, and then we moved to another one, and we didn't have a lot of stuff at the other one, but a little bit. But then this other one, when we moved to Tucson, we started having crazy stuff, and he bought this spirit box from this guy, Pair Awakening, right, Rob Hernandez. He bought this spirit box from him, and he was testing it out in his studio room, and I think that's what invited spirits there to our apartment because he was testing it out and using it, and he was asking questions and he was getting responses. And at first I'm like, yeah, we live here. I don't know if I like this, but I don't know. I just started thinking, well, it's kind of cool actually.
Well, that's an interesting switch from kind of leery of it to being interested by it. Uh,
It's addictive. It's addictive. Like
yeah, what part of it?
I'm always on the phone on the internet looking for another place to go to. Like we at least once a month, but sometimes more than that. I'm finding a place. Oh, check this place out, and I'll look at the history and I'll say, oh, let's go here. Let's plan to go here because I'm off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so we can go somewhere. Next weekend we're going to Havasu City to check out the London Bridge.
Oh, very good. So that brings up an interesting question. Um, what? Well, first we want to get to our viewer question. Where did you meet? Did paranormal activity bring you together as a couple?
No, we were friends on Facebook for like maybe 8 months, and we were just talking, and then I just decided, I'm gonna take off from North Carolina and move out to Arizona and check this guy out.
Well, that is a gamble, and I'm glad it paid off. I just
so
watched a
so
show about Manti Te'o who got catfish, but hey, you scored big. That's great. Congratulations. All right.
so were you
Well, I
living in the
thought I
apartment?
thought it'll either work or it won't, and if it
Right.
won't, then I'll just go back home.
Well, so that's a
Did
good
you live in the
outlet.
apartment by South Mountain with him?
Did you catch that question, Pam?
Uh-uh.
Kyle wanted to know if you lived at South Mountain with him and saw all the weird stuff going on there.
Yes, yes, I have seen those. Oh my God, yeah. He had me up there. It didn't take me maybe 2 or 3 months after I got out here that were going up there, and he taught me how to what to look for, and yeah, I started seeing stuff, and that was really one thing I saw up there one time. It had horns on it, and I was like, "Are you sure it ain't gonna get us? Does it know we're here? Does it know we're watching it? Is it gonna get us?" I mean, I was like freaking out because I'm like, I felt like it was watching us. It knew that I felt like it knew we were watching it.
Well, that's wild.
It was had this S shape to it, and it had these horns on it, and I was like, "Oh my God."
Well, that is definitely creepy. But the thing that we're really talking about tonight is the ghost hunting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was reminded of is you're selecting these places. You're getting excited about different places based on their history. Is
Mhm.
that part of what makes something a good place to investigate?
Yeah, most definitely. When you search the background of the place, and you know what's going on, then I think it enhances the experience. Okay, so for an example, I searched the background and the history of Yuma Prison, right? And so I searched, as to why it's haunted and some of the background stories about it. So I read this story that there's this little girl there that if you wear red, she'll pinch you. So I had to wear red to find out if I was going to get pinched. So we're out there, and I thought it was a bee sting at first. My legs started burning, and I thought it was, I thought I got stung by a bee, and I was complaining about it for a while, and he never said nothing until we got home. And when we got home, he showed me a picture on from the SLS camera that he was using, and he showed me a picture of a little girl. It was a little child-sized figure standing by my leg, touching it.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, yeah, because I purposely wore red just to see if the story would be true, and whether it is or not, whether that's what happened. But I mean, I did my leg was burning. I had a red mark on it, and he showed me that picture. So
Well, that's spooky. That sounds a lot like what Kyle has going on in his house from time to time.
yeah, it can happen.
Uh, okay, so tell me some of the places you've been around the state of Arizona that you think are really cool places to visit if you're looking for a ghost experience.
Definitely Tombstone. We've
Tell me
had
about
several.
Tombstone.
We've had several experiences there. The most well around Christmas time we went up there, and we were out in the middle of the street in front of the bird cage. It was after midnight, and he was using the spirit box out there, and he was getting some responses with that. And I heard boots walking, and I turned behind me and looked, and there was this all I could see was a black shadow of a man, and he had a cowboy hat on, and it looked like he had a long, long coat. And so he was leaned up over something back behind us, leaned up against a pole or something, watching us. And I'm like, okay, I guess he's curious about what we're doing, right? So I kept looking back behind me, and I'm watching, and then I hear boots again coming up behind me. So I turned and looked, and he was walking up on us. So I said hello, and well, I just saw a black shadow. I didn't see no face, anything like that, and he didn't respond back to me. And so I'm like, hmm, okay, I guess he didn't hear me. Um, so he walked behind me and started walking down towards like Big Nose Kate's that direction, and I'm watching him, and then all of a sudden he just freaking vanished, and I'm like, where the hell did he just go? Did you see that, Jeff? And he's like, yeah. Did you record it? And I'm like, no, because I was recording you, and I just froze. I just froze, like you just freeze. And he goes, you could have just turned the camera around, and I'm like, I didn't think to do that. I was just too trying to figure out where did he go,
You got
because
stuck in a
he was there,
moment.
and yeah, and then we were telling some people about that, and they're like, oh yeah, we see him a lot. The lady at the Larian Hotel, I was telling, because that's where we had stayed, and I told her about it, and she said that she sees that same person over there at her hotel a lot, and he'll sit on the benches, the little benches that are out in front of the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
She said she'll see him sitting there, and she'll see him walking through the courtyard there. She said she thinks it might be Morgan Earp, but who really knows who it is. But
That is so fascinating. I love that movie Tombstone. The history of that town is so fantastic. Um,
yeah,
when,
there's a lot of history there.
yeah, absolutely. Have you ever had a connection with a spirit where it wanted to speak to you or converse with you in any way?
Yes, very, very. This is very interesting because we were going to. It was a few months back. It was May, wasn't it? May, and we were going to Sundad, which is an old. It's just outside of Phoenix. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a really cool place to check out. It was an old tuberculosis sanitarium. I had stumbled across it somehow in my searches of haunted places, and we particularly like to find old tuberculosis sanitariums because of our experiences at Acadia Ranch out here in Oracle.
Right.
And so I found this Sundab place, and I'm like, oh, and they have these really neat rock formations out there that make different shapes and stuff. And so I thought, yeah, let's go check that out. So we rented a car and headed out there, and that was on your birthday, okay. So we headed out there, and we actually couldn't get to the whole part of the town because the road was so bad. So we didn't get to do all of everything there. So we left, and so we went. That's the day that we stopped at the Gatlin site, which is in, where's that at? The Gatlin site, Gila River, Gila Bend, Gila River area, because he studies the Hoacom stuff. So we did all that. So we're coming back, and we hit this certain spot, and we we just had to stop. I saw these rocks, these black lava looking rocks, and I'm like, oh, I have to have one of those. So we stopped in this one area, and so he's out looking for me a rock, and I'm taking Ruby, to see if she needs to go to the bathroom. And so we're walking back to the car, and I just happen to look across the street, and I see this big, huge cross, and it's all decorated, and it just caught my attention, and I was like, I felt drawn to go over there, and I pointed it out to him, and he's like, yeah, we got to go check that out. And like we already had our equipment with us anyway, so we get over there and we start. It was across the street. It was a ways off of the road. We immediately felt like tragic, very tragic here. And so we got out he got out the spirit box. He started talking. He started asking the lady questions. I think she was very young. She was like 37, I think. So we were trying to ask her questions, and I started getting these images of a helicopter, and I didn't know what that was all about. So to make a long story short, I gave her this bear that I had in my bag. I felt like I wanted to leave her something, so I gave her this bear, and I left it there. Well, so we get back home, and I'm just really, really possessed, I felt like, to find this lady and find out more about her. And I didn't know why. So I get on Facebook because we knew a name, but that's it. We didn't have a face. We didn't know anything. So I get on Facebook and I look up her name. I find several accounts with that name, but this one stood out to me. So I said, okay, yeah, she had a nickname, but this one picture, profile picture, stood out to me more than anybody else. So I'm like, I wonder if that was her. So I went on there, snooping around, being nosy on her page. Sure enough, that was her. So I really feel like she helped me find her because how else would I explain how I found her? Um, so I went on the post and I started looking at some of the family members or friends that was commenting on her post, and I started contacting them, and it took a little bit for one of them to get back with me, and then she got back with me, but she didn't really say a whole lot. But then she contacted another girl, and so this other girl that apparently Michelle was really close with, she contacted me, and we had a big long conversation, and she started telling me what happened and everything. And I asked her, I said, what is the images? I'm getting these images of a helicopter. What does that mean? And she said, oh my God. She said when she flipped her car and it threw her out, and she said she laid there. I guess somebody called for help. The helicopter came to get her, but she actually passed away in the helicopter.
Oh
So I
wow.
just got chills. I'm like, oh my God, because I just kept having these images of a helicopter, and she said, yeah, she died in that helicopter,
So
and
when you
so
say images, is it just something that was like popping in your brain, or like?
yeah, yeah, just stuff popping in my head, like helicopter, and like I could just see a helicopter showing up there, and we could see I could see like her car, you know, flipping over and throwing her out. It was just I've never had this happen. I swear I've never had this happen to me before, and I was freaked out, but at the same time it was just really neat connecting with her family, and then we started pulling stuff off of her page. That cross that's out there was actually at her funeral. We found images where that cross was actually at her funeral, propped up next to her casket and everything. So that's where that cross came from. And but yeah, it was just really. I've talked to like four. I've talked so far. I've talked to four different family members of hers, and they just really felt like it gave them closure. That she was trying to let them know something through me. That she desperately wanted me to contact them, and I said, I just feel like she just wants you to know that she's really sorry, because this was a very tragic thing for this family. Very,
I'm
very
sure.
tragic. I mean, she was only 37. Um, I think she had some kids. And so, yeah, it was a very, the family was telling me it was very, the one cousin that really talked to me a lot. She said it was very, she said we were all just devastated. And she said this has really helped us. She said knowing that she, is still, I said, yeah, I feel like, and I asked them, I said, so what's with the color purple? Did she like the color purple? And they're like, yes, she did. That was one of her favorite colors. And I said, I could see that when I was at my car getting the bear. I had some purple fingernail polish in my bag, and I just kept having this strong feeling about purple. And they're like, yeah, that was one of her favorite colors. And it was just really, it was cool. It's kind of creepy, but it's really cool when you can connect with the person's family, and that helps them feel better. It was just really neat.
That is incredible. So that's kind of like a medium. experience? Did you feel? Have you ever felt
Well,
like you're a medium of some
I
kind? You
felt
have a lot of
no.
connection to.
I've no. I've no. No. I mean, this has never happened before. I've never had this happen before. So I mean, somebody. I was in a Facebook group one day, and I got involved in this argument that these two ladies were having, and the admin messaged me, and he's like telling me, "You're an empath. You're an empath," and I'm like, "What's that?" So I started doing some research on what an empath is, and so that kind of makes sense as to some of the other experiences that I've had throughout my whole life. I'm 54. but but it just kind of, when I did some research on what an empath is, and how they perceive things and how they're so sensitive to things, then it kind of started making sense. But I've never had this happen before, ever.
Well, that's an incredible experience. So, do you remain close with that family?
I've talked to another cousin not too long ago. She was told to. She said she messaged me, and she's like, "Yeah, my other cousin told me the story, the situation, and she said I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to reach out to you." So this cousin actually lives in Gila Bend, and so I started talking. I actually sent her a copy of his book because she's all into that. She's all interested in that. So, but I haven't. I think that was about a month ago. I haven't talked to anybody because I don't really want to disturb them. You know what I mean? I mean, I've already talked to them. I don't want to keep. I don't want to keep disturbing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If they want
sure.
to reach out to me, if they want to reach out to me and talk to me, that's okay. But I don't want to keep, pushing it with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I just felt like when we got back from that experience, when we got back home, I just felt so pushed, so drawn to reach out and try to find her and find these people. But now I feel like it's kind of, I did it, and that's okay, and let's move on.
The moment has passed.
Yeah,
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 you did what you had to do.
yeah, yeah. That's how it feels.
All right. So you sent over some clips or some YouTube videos that you wanted us to take a look at. Um, I think Kyle has those set up, and maybe you can kind of walk us through what we're looking at. Does that sound good?
Okay.
All right. So Kyle's gonna share the screen.
Oh yeah, I recognize that.
So what is it we're looking at? Where is this?
It's in Sierra Vista. It is the old Charleston Bridge. They call it the Suicide Bridge, and they also call it the Lock Bridge. The reason why they call it the Lock Bridge is because couples, they will go. We did it. They will go and they will write their name, and sometimes write their date of when they got married, and they'll write it on this lock, and then they'll put the lock. They'll fasten it onto the fence. That's what you see there. You see all the locks there. That's what that's all about.
Oh, okay.
But it's also called a lot of people committed suicide off of that bridge. While we were there, we were able to connect with this lady. She said her name was Nancy. Yeah, that's Dark Valley Paranormal. They're the ones that I saw it on their page, and I asked them where that was at. I contacted Paula, and I asked her where that was at, and so she told me, and I'm like, oh, we want to go check that out. So we met up with them, Paula and Ryan and their daughter Faith. She was with us on that. So we went there, and we had an investigation with them there.
And there was some spirit box Jeff was working on at the beginning there. What kind of things did you catch on the spirit box?
We caught that. Like I said, we had this voice that said Nancy, and so I
Nancy.
started. Yeah, she said Nancy, and so I started asking her questions, and she said um, that I don't know if he was her husband or a boyfriend, but his name was Kevin, and she told us that he pushed her, and she said that she wanted to go home, and she said I can't because I'm stuck here. So that was really, you know, And I felt bad. I said, I'm really sorry, Nancy, to hear that. We don't know how to help you move on, but maybe we can contact somebody. Which Dark Valley Paranormal, they're currently they're trying to find somebody that can maybe go out there and help with that.
Okay, now we're looking at some SLS camera footage. For those not familiar, the SLS is basically an Xbox Connect camera linked up to a tablet that has certain programming on it. And the idea is that the SLS is finding some structured light, and it's trying to track humanoid forms and motion,
Movement, yeah.
and so generally you're using it to identify a ghost that's or a spirit or entity that's located somewhere that you may not be able to see it with your naked eye.
Yes.
All right, there's the little puppy.
Yeah, we had a really interesting thing happen with Ruby. She started whining and she came up to me wanting me to pick her up. And so when we went to touch her, she felt wet. And we had no clue why. We had, I mean,
Ectoplasm.
everybody touched her. I'm like, oh my God, Ruby, why are you wet? And my husband, Jeff, he touched her. She was wet. She was damp, not soaking wet, but you could tell she had some moisture on her fur. And we could there. I said, there's no reason for her to be wet. So we don't know if something scared her, because she came to me whining, wanting me to pick her up. So we that was interesting.
Now, the Kevin and Nancy, did you do any research into them? Did you were you able
I
to
tried
identify what
to.
that was about?
Yeah, I tried to, but I couldn't, since we don't really have a full name. I tried I don't know if there was maybe there wasn't any much documentation on that. I couldn't find anything.
Okay. One of the questions that one of the viewers had asked earlier was, are the paranormal experiences that you've been a part of, do you consider them evil, good, or neutral, in your opinion?
Most of the ones that we've had have not been, they weren't evil. We did go to a place with Dark Valley Paranormal not too long ago. It was in Sierra Vista as well. It was called the Brown Canyon Ranch, and we did have a spirit box there. We heard the word, we all heard the word Satan very clearly. We don't know if maybe there was some kind of, because it's out in the middle of nowhere, so we don't know if there's been any kind of rituals. It's kind of like the Casa Grande domes. We know there's been some rituals performed out there. So I'm thinking that maybe because some of the words that we heard on the spirit box at this place, and we when Paula was from Dark Valley, she was reviewing some of the footage. She showed me a picture where it looked like in the kitchen area, it looked like a face of a man was looking in the window at us, and it was pretty clear. You could see it.
So it looks like some of the input there. When we did our investigation at the uh, bullion, what do you call it? Bullion Plaza. That's what it's called.
Bullion Plaza.
Yeah. They were doing some spirit box there, and I there was a lot of stuff there that sounded like it was backwards. And I see Jeff is recording the spirit box, and there's some of it coming in backwards.
Yeah,
Why do
I'll
you think?
probably have to let him explain that one.
Yeah, why do you think it's backwards?
I'll have to let him explain that one. They're asking about the spirit box and why it's backwards. I'll have to let you explain that one. 'Cause that's your specialty.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Sometimes the spirits they just talk backwards. I don't know why, and um, it's sometimes it's kind of frustrating, when you're talking with them, and then all of a sudden they start, talking backwards, and so you really don't know what's going on until you go home and you review the files and then you reverse them, and then you find out that they're really answering you. It's just backwards. Why it does that, I really don't know. I've been puzzled on that question many times before. A lot of people ask me why are they talking backwards. I don't know, but it's highly accurate. When they do that, they're answering you, man. So it's not a bunch of gibberish. So when you play it backwards, the question that you asked, they're telling it reverse, and you won't know until you get home. One thing that I really found out too a lot in doing this, sometimes when we're there, and it sounds like gibberish to us over the speaker. When we get home, it's talking. It's making more sense. So, for some reason, you can understand it more when you get home and you review the footage. Review the footage, and what sounds like gibberish at being live when you're there talking to them isn't. It's actually there for some reason. The mic is picking up different sounds and vowels and this and that and stuff that apparently the naked ear isn't picking up, but the microphone is. And so when you go back and you play it, and you're looking over the footage, it's pretty kind of weird the way it works that way. It doesn't sound like much when you're there, but when you get home and you review it, they're talking to you, man. They're making sense.
That's cool. Yeah,
It's
Kyle, that's
interesting.
what we got to do. We got to listen to our footage in reverse.
Yeah. Well, they're talking in reverse. They're we're not playing it in reverse. It comes out backwards, and then I reverse it on my computer, and then it makes sense. It's talking to
Oh,
you
oh
in
yeah, I
reverse.
get what you're
Yeah,
saying. What I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah.
is, Kyle and I went to the Bullion Plaza, and we took a lot of we did Kyle had a lot of audio. We also did some video, but it wasn't making a whole lot of sense. And I was like, a lot of this stuff sounds like it might be coming in backwards or
hmm
in disparate syllable chunks. And maybe if we could manipulate the audio some intelligent way, we could figure out what it was saying.
Absolutely, and I don't see any other paranormal investigators, doing this. They just, well, it's backwards, it's gibberish, it's nothing. I think you need to go back and try to figure out if there is something there, and when you do, it does. They're talking to you in reverse, and I haven't seen in all these other paranormal investigators on these videos. I haven't seen anybody else do this before. I guess no one has realized this or figured this out. But the thing was talking backwards, and I'm like, dude, what if we just play it reverse, play it forward and backwards and see what happens, and come to conclusions. They were talking to us, so in reverse.
Yeah. Well, that's
Have
some good insight. We're totally noobs at all this, so we've got a lot of learning to
Well,
do.
we are kind of too. I mean, we haven't been doing this for very long. How many years?
3 years
About 3 years, yeah.
since we moved to Tucson.
And
Well, we went with Jay and Marie in Phoenix to Sunkiss Factory
mhm,
when we were in Phoenix, but then we came here. We actually started out with AZ Ghost Adventures with Rita,
mhm.
going to some of her stuff is how we started out.
So I had a motorcycle accident when I was 15, so I died, and um, the when I was on the operating table, I was actually literally on the ceiling, looking down at my body, and there was a white silhouette behind me, much like what we see on the computer now, like a movie screen, like a white movie screen. That was behind me, and I'm looking down at my body, and then all of a sudden I get sucked back in. It was only a few seconds, but I could clearly see my body there. I could clearly see the doctors working on me. I was sucked back into my body, and then I woke up in intensive care. And since then, throughout my life, that was when I was 15. Since then, I've been seeing, like more UFOs in the sky. That's why I went out and started filming UFOs, and I could feel, like when I walk into a room, I could feel a presence, right? I could feel something there. and I always wondered what it was. I've lived in some places where poltergeist activities has gone on. Dustpans used to scoot across the floor. Water bottles would crunch right there in front of my eyes and bubble. And dishes would fly off the counters. So yeah, I had an ashtray lift up and drop on the coffee table in front of me. So I've had some pretty crazy experiences throughout my life with not only with UFOs, but with spirits, ghosts, if you will, paranormal activity, poltergeist. I've had a lot of poltergeist activities, encounters, and
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 that was all kind of brought about by your near death experience.
I think so. I think so because the more and more I talk to people, especially when it comes to UFOs, because I do a lot of interviews on UFOs, and I talk to a lot of people about UFOs, and during my interviews and during my talking with some of these people, um, the ones that mostly see UFOs like a lot, has had an out of body experience,
I have too.
and the people that don't see UFOs a lot hasn't. So I don't know if there's some kind of connection there. I don't know, but uh, the I'm more leaning towards this as I'm doing my investigations for the last 20 years on UFOs. I'm starting to come to come to this conclusion that it's very possible that because someone has died and came back, that maybe they're in touch, their spirit, they're in tune a little bit more, their frequencies are more um, um, able to pick things up. Because I can walk into a room and I oh my I feel heavy. There's something there. There's a presence there. You know, and so that's what I really wanted to get into ghost hunting, but I was doing my UFO stuff, and some of the equipment, dude, some of the equipment is just outrageous. I mean, you got to be a millionaire to buy some of these equipment, and I've found this SLS camera, and they're normally like $300-400, and I found one for a good price, and I picked one up, and I thought, hey, this is cool. We can actually see ghosts. And it's a SLS stands for structured light sensor camera. So it basically what it does is it shoots a laser out, and these lasers pick up like energy. So if there's like an energy of a person over there, it'll pick up its energy and actually map a skeleton figure of their body or whatnot. So if there's something there that you can't see, but it's picking up energy, it's gonna map that. And it just went on from there. I got the SLS, and then I ended up getting a spirit box, and then I ended up making my own. I found out how to make a porthole, and that was always fun. And so yeah, that's the way it's pretty much been going on with this. And like I said before, I'm kind of like a filmmaker. I'm a history buff.
Sure.
And that's what I do with my films that you guys have seen. It's not just a regular ghost hunt. It's like an adventure. It's a movie, if you will. I like to make it a movie, kind of interesting. It's just different than what everybody else does, and it takes hours and hours of putting it together.
Yeah.
Sometimes weeks on one film. One half an hour film will take me like 2 months to put together because of details and playing stuff backwards, and that's the stuff that really bothers me the most. So when I'm doing something and a spirit starts talking backwards to me, I don't want to work on that too much, because if I go 20 minutes on a backwards recording, I gotta at least spend another hour and a half reversing everything they said. And it could be gibberish, it could be something there, and it's just so time consuming. So whenever they start talking backwards, it all depends if I continue with that or not, because I know the editing process is gonna be a bitch. So I go with it as much as I can. But it's interesting. It's really fascinating on how, yeah, there are ghosts, there are spirits, and yeah, you can talk to them. And have we had bad experiences? Not yet. Not yet. We've had some things touch us. I think Pam got touched at the Birdcage Theater. There was a couple other areas where
The
she,
Yuma prison.
yeah, the Yuma prison, and I've heard things too, things like that, but nothing that has harmed us, So
Well, that's good.
yeah, no scratches on us or you know. But you got a lot of these YouTubers, man. They're out to get views, man. So they're gonna exaggerate, they're gonna fake stuff, they're gonna hoax stuff just to get that view. And that's not what I'm about, man. I'm about real stuff, real history, some good video. I love the scenery. I put a lot of good scenery in there, cool music, cool special effects, whatever. Um, it's all neat to put together, and it all falls into your lap when you're doing it, and this is what I do. I go in and I film something, and then we do the seance, and then we do the SLS, and we do some other stuff, and then my brain kind of processes me because I got all this stuff, right? I got all this video footage, all this stuff, and my brain just starts clicking, man. Okay, how am I gonna put this into a film? How is this gonna be cool? How is this gonna be neat? So I'm thinking about all this stuff. This goes there, and that goes there, and this goes there, and it's and when the film comes out, it works. It's cool. It's neat, and I that's what I like most about it all. I mean, sure, talking
Yeah.
to ghosts and seeing the ghosts, that's all fun, but for me, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a videographer, I'm an editor. I'm putting all this stuff together, and it brings my talent out, and that's what I like. I like to bring, because yeah, I've been filming UFOs and doing UFOs for 20 years now, doing all this cable stuff and interviews and my books out and stuff. Now it's another subject of my life where it's something that I want to do. I want to become a producer. I want to make movies. Actually, when you read my book about the Phoenix Lights, about the history of Phoenix, I say chapter one, chapter two, or I'm sorry, episode one, episode two. I wrote it as a movie, so my book is a movie, and I'm hoping one day some Hollywood producer will take a look at that story and turn it into a film. Because if they do, it's going to be a kick-ass film, and I just hope one day that it happens. So.
All right. So speaking of movies, Kyle's got another video lined up. It's all queued up. So maybe you guys can talk us through this one too. The Magma
Okay,
Club.
I'll let Pam deal with this. I'll let Pam do it. So, what ranch is this? This is.
That's at the Magma Club with Wendy,
Oh, that's right.
Wendy Clark from Ghost Crew of Southern Tucson. That's the name of
Yeah.
her group. That was a
All right.
really
So the
cool
Magma Club is
place.
in where's the Magma
It's
Club?
in It's in Superior.
So in Pinal County, kind of up in the mountains.
Hmm.
Were you with Wendy when she was goosed?
We were there, but I didn't. I wasn't right beside her when that happened. I think that's when we were outside, right there, doing our own thing. Cause she kind of Wendy's really cool when you go to her investigations, and we talk about it ahead of time. She lets us go and do our own thing. So we'll be there with them, and then we'll go do our own thing, and then we'll go back in there with them. We did hear a whistle. We were all sitting there, and we heard a whistle, a strange whistle.
A whistle.
Uh-huh. Yeah, everybody, we all heard it. We were sitting in the chairs in a circle, and we all heard this. I can't whistle, but but it was a whistle, and somebody said, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was a whistle." And another cool thing that Wendy did that I've never seen, never experienced before is when they do the scrying, the with the mirror, and so they did that there, and I've never seen that done. So that was pretty interesting because they had somebody go in a they have like these little closets in there, and with a curtain. So I believe it was Kevin that went in there. Um, but they were doing a session, and you could actually see the face change in the mirror. You could tell that it wasn't that person's face. It was another face that was in the mirror, and that was just totally cool.
All
I've
right.
never seen
So
that before.
so you have to describe to me what you mean by scrying.
It's where it's well, you can use any type of mirror. I guess we have a black obsidian scrying mirror, but we don't use it. He just bought it because it was cool. But you look you have the mirror there, and it's dark, and you like have a candle lit or something, and so you talk to the spirit, and the spirit can actually appear in the mirror. The spirit's face you
Oh
can
wow.
actually see. Yeah, yeah, and I've heard about it, but I didn't know that much about it. But she tried it. They tried it there, and so that's the first time I've ever experienced it, and it was like I was like, whoa, that's wild.
Yeah, we used to try to scare each other with the Bloody Mary stuff in the bathroom in elementary school. That sounds very similar.
Yeah, so the black obsidian mirror that Jeff purchased, he
Can I
had
get
it.
it?
You can. We don't have it hanging up at the moment, but after that experience at the Magna Club with Wendy and her team, I was afraid to walk by and look in the. I did not want to look at that mirror when I walked by it when he had it hanging up. I did not want to. I was it because I just felt like what am I going to see back
Hmm.
because if you do it if you do these sessions and I actually joined a Facebook group about scrying to try to learn more about it. The Jeff said when he bought it off of eBay. He said the seller actually messaged him and asked if they could have it back because I guess they were using it for this, and they said after they sold it, yeah, it's really cool, but it's just creepy to think about looking in it.
It's a portal. It's a doorway into the spirits. It's real obsidian, and
Oh, look at that mirror.
this has been going on for. This isn't nothing new. So people seeing the future and past and getting
So does it feel like sometimes
spirits
they're
from
like
outside
dancing for you
through
in
these
front of the
portals
SLS
to
camera?
Yeah, sometimes I think, and I don't know for sure if it's really the spirit doing it or if it's something with the camera. But we have asked them before to reach out and touch something, and they will. That's usually how, because not everything is 100% accurate for those SLSs. You can
Mhm.
get false stuff with them, so you kind of have to look at it from that point of view, you know. But yeah, you can ask them like at the Hotel Congress when we stayed in there's a suicide room 242 there, and so Jeff's sitting on the bed, and there's this figure, and she's over there, and it looks like she's touching him and running her hand up his leg. And I'm like, oh, so cool. I'm sitting here watching my husband get molested by this spirit here.
Hey, we call that spectrophilia around here.
I'm trying to think. I just stayed in the Hotel Congress, and they rent that 242 out normally, right? They don't advertise it as anything.
They don't advertise. No, they don't. Like I
But
said,
it's
we do
pretty.
the history of a location. We do the history to try to find out, purposely find out what there's 242 and there's 214 and there's another one I can't remember 220 something. But but if you look it up, they'll tell you the history on those rooms. And the 242, there was it's called the suicide. You can actually, if you take a black light in there, you can see all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't normally see if you use the black light.
late at night a lady screaming.
Yeah, he said he heard a lady screaming in the middle of the night. I didn't hear that, but it really freaked him out. He said I heard this lady and she was screaming,
I'm
and
trying to think because I just stayed in the Hotel Congress a couple weeks ago, and I
There's
think that's the
oh,
portals.
so
room.
you probably saw that Ouija board table. Isn't
Oh
that
Yeah.
yeah.
isn't that thing beautiful? Oh,
So
that thing is
that's what I'm
gorgeous.
trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to think because like I went to the Ouija board table and then I took a right to get to my room, and it was like 4 or 5 rooms down. Once you take that right, I think it was a right. That's what I'm trying to think because
The
it's a double,
suicide
right?
room, the suicide room is when you go straight up the stairs, and it's to the right, and the room with the table would be on your left from those when you're on those stairs.
Trying to because I know because you come up because we just stayed there and our room was 240. I'm thinking There's two beds in it, right?
No, this one only had one bed.
So maybe I was in 243. All right.
All right. All right. Were there any other clips you wanted us to go over?
I think maybe how much? What time is it? We don't have a lot of time left, but I know Acadia Ranch out in Oracle. We've gotten a lot of activity there.
See if I pull that up.
We've been there 4 times. We started out going there with AZ Ghost Adventures, Rita Olson, and then we went one time with Wendy and not Kevin but Scott, and then Wendy's boyfriend Darren. We went there with them, and I have this little my bear. My bear's back here. Um, I have this.
Um,
I get a lot of my stuff from Addict Junkie Paranormal, and a lot of my stuff from them. And I have this bear, and it's a REM pod bear. So when you touch it, it'll flash all these colors, and it lights. It makes a loud sound. That's the only place that I've ever had that bear get any action is at that ranch. At Acadia, and it's one specific room that it's been touched. It was touched when we went with Rita, it was touched one time, and then when we went with Wendy, it was touched 3 times. But I didn't expect it, so we didn't get to record that. But that bear hasn't worked anywhere else.
Haunted Encounter Adventures, along with Arizona Ghost Adventures, investigates Arcadia Ranch in Orville, Arizona.
Let's see if I can get.
Hartman was asking if these videos have sound. Yes, Hartman. They of course they have sound. If you if you're missing the sound, go to Haunted Encounter Adventures, and watch the full video. Get the full experience. We're just trying to give you a sense so that you go check out Jeff and Pam's stuff.
Yeah,
And
there's a history of a little boy named Robert Lee Van Horn. He was about 7 years old. His family, I guess, lived at this place before it was the tuberculosis sanitarium, and he accidentally got his dad's gun and shot himself. So we have purposely tried to make contact with him. We've got several videos where we went to he's buried right there next door at the Oracle Cemetery, and we've went over there and had conversations with him. That was pretty interesting, and we've caught stuff there in the. I believe that it's possibly him that might be touching my bear. I think it's a kid that's touching my bear that likes my bear.
See. Is there? Oh, here we go.
some entity being picked up in a tree.
Yeah, that's the pregnancy they call. That's where they kept the pregnant tuberculosis. The women that were pregnant that had tuberculosis, and this is a really sad thing because some of the babies would die, and they would just put them in a shoebox and put them in the backyard there.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, really sad. But that's the room when we went in there the first time that we were there and we went in the shed to investigate. I didn't want to go in there, so I stayed in the doorway. And so Jeff had some pretty good experiences in there. And that's where I'm standing in the doorway and I see this doll that I think Rita had it on the counter there. And I saw the doll, it just fell back. And when it fell back, it knocked over something else behind it. And it just, I'm like, oh my God, did I just really see that thing move? I mean, that really, I was like, oh wow, yeah, this place is crazy.
I like that they
Yeah,
look
it's
like
good.
it. I like
Doing a
that.
little boogie.
Like they're just kind of like, "What's up? How's it going?"
Yeah, we were getting that, and people were sitting there in the chairs. I don't guess you can see that, but people are sitting in the chairs, and that thing's just right over their head, and they had no clue.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. So these were active for a while. Then I take it.
Yeah, Yeah, now you can see some of the people, and they have no clue.
Hey, I'm here. I'm here. Well, that is kind of cool. I'm gonna have to make one of these.
Yeah, Wendy keeps saying me and her we need to go back to the we went to the Empire Ranch. We didn't really get to do much of an investigation there. We did a little bit, but they have a time limit of 7 p.m. So we didn't get to do a whole lot, but we got some activity there. And she thought we were in the doorway of one of the rooms, and it was a kid's room, and she kept saying that she thought she something was touching her, and he was actually getting picking up a figure on the SLS that was in the doorway touching her.
So that is the same room as before that you caught the red orb earlier, and with this, it's still going by the. Uh, it was still going by the window, even though you had it captured again later.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's a cool little machine. The little a little thing there. Gonna have to
yeah.
figure out how to.
You just have to do the research on it and study it and learn how it works. And like I said, not everything is 100% accurate, but I mean, like you can kind of tell if it's like if sometimes the figure will be the same height as the object, then it's just like, yeah, like if you're looking at a cactus and there's a figure standing by a cactus and it's the same height because a cactus is really tall. So
Mhm.
if it's the same height as the cactus, a person's probably not as tall as that cactus. So that you got to kind of wonder about that, but you do pick up a lot of interesting stuff that make you go,
Especially when they start flying around the room.
or like in Douglas at the Avenue Hotel when we went to that lady let us have free reign of that whole place. We were the only ones there, and there was a barber room there, barber shop there. So she opened it and let us in there, and we actually caught a figure sitting in the chair, and then we caught another figure standing beside it, a little bit taller, like a barber was working on their hair. That was really cool.
That would be cool to catch that.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And that was in Douglas at the Avenue Hotel.
That's awesome.
We're
Well,
kind of limited on where we can go now because we have to look for a place that's pet friendly. And Wendy's wonderful. She always, and so is Dark Valley. They always let us bring her with us. Some places we can't, so that's why we haven't been to the Globe Jail, the jail out there, the Gila County Jail. We haven't been there because we can't bring her. So then that causes us issues like, okay, what are we going to do with the dog now? So that's why we haven't been able to check that place out.
some pretty cool footage. So what's this pink in the background? Is that just an image of something?
He's wanting to know what that pink is in the background.
That is so. That's
You want to tell
like
him?
night vision, I guess.
Oh,
The SLS. I'm using like night vision, and the pink is more like a heat sensor. Like it's just picking up some kind of heat. So that's basically what it's doing. The SLS is it's not like a normal infrared camera or whatever. So it sees a building, so it's gonna mark it purple, and then it sees it's got night sky, so that's green over there, and so if there's a figure there, it'll more color will come into it. See how it just disappeared? The color's
hmm,
gone, so is the figure. So it's picking up the energy from that figure and it's mapping it, making it like pink or whatever. So that's the only thing
gotcha.
I can think of. Right.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
You
Is
know,
there
So we
uh,
went
any other
we went
clips?
to
I'll
we
leave
went
us
to
with. I just noticed that you had sent us the footage of the cross.
yeah. Is that
So
the road
the
outside? Is that
cross
what
of
you're
the
talking about?
desert.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was from the story earlier. I'm sorry, I just noticed it.
That's okay.
Well, while we're waiting for Kyle to load that, I guess we'll get to it at the end. Wanted to see that obsidian mirror again.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I just want to cry just looking at her face.
So this the gal who passed away.
Yeah. hmm This is the one that was involved in a car crash, and so this memorial is, I don't know, 50 to 100 feet away from the road. Here we go. I'll show you. So I'm crossing the road. This is where the memorial is. This is where she landed at. Um, she was coming from um, the right hand of the road on your screen there. She was traveling that way. I don't know. There's a. I think alcohol had a lot to do with it.
Oh, that she mentioned drinking.
Yeah, she was drinking, probably fall asleep at the wheel, and her car rolled through her. And look how far, I mean, she
Oh my
landed.
gosh.
So,
Poor
yeah,
girl.
you can, yeah. One thing that really touched me, we went out to Las Vegas and we went to go check out the Mandalay Bay shooting. And holy cow, when we went to that memorial out there in Vegas, where all those people, were in, to that memorial, it was so heavy there. I mean, I started crying there. The emotional, it was the emotions there are just crazy, and I just can't believe it. Like I'm trying to do, even talking about it kind of chokes me up. Um, it was so heavy. The presence of those people are still there, man, and it's really um, all I can say is it's really heavy, it's really deep, and the memorial there. There's so many people there, and it's really sad,
Yeah.
and it was really heavy. So some of those, yeah, that's before the memorial was placed there. These are photographs that we found from her relatives on Facebook and stuff. So they posted all these photographs, and so we're getting a better idea on what everything looked like before the memorial was there. Um, the cross was actually laid up against her casket. There's a photograph of that um, before she was buried, and then they brought the cross out here to set up the memorial for her.
Well, this is actually some very touching footage you've got here, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's me putting the bear on her.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to continue this another time with you guys because we didn't get through all the cool videos you guys sent us.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been. I guess we have been to a few places over the years. Yeah, so it's pretty neat stuff. Haunted Encounter Adventures. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Facebook. Tell us your ghost story. You know, and if you have something that we do private investigations also. So we went. This one lady contacted us because she had some spirits in her house. So we actually went down there and we did a séance for her, and we found out a lot of information. And there was this one room that I just kind of didn't want to go into. And later on, I found out that the person that was there or whatever um, was from World War II, and there was a lot of World War II rifles
Yeah,
in the
that's what she
closet.
was drinking.
Yeah, there you go. When the spirit box just said that, talking about her drinking there. But it was so heavy there in that room, and I didn't want to go in there. I finally ended up going in there, but then later on we found out that that's where these World War II rifles were kept at, and they've taken many lives, and that's the reason why it was so heavy in that room, and I didn't want to go in there. But
Yeah, that's pretty deep. Pretty deep
yeah,
stuff.
it is. It gets pretty intense sometimes, um, and you just don't know how to react to it sometimes because it hits you in the face and it's so heavy, and it's so intense, and but like the family here, they said that they were really happy that Michelle is at peace, and
She is now. She wasn't, but
yeah,
she is now.
yeah, she is now because we went out there and we talked to her, and there's a lot of other stuff. I don't know if Pam wants to talk about it, but there you go.
Well, we know, Pam, that you got to get ready for work, so
Yeah,
we
just
understand
seeing
if you have
this,
to go.
just seeing this video again is just so emotional for me because, I mean, it was just so strong, and I really felt like this girl was unsettled and not at peace. You know, everybody wants to think that their loved one was resting at peace. I really feel like she was not, but now she is because I've contacted her family. I think the girl was. I feel like she was just waiting for somebody to come by there and listen to her story and contact her family. That's how I really feel about this one. And I really feel like now she is at peace, but before she was not.
Well, it's a lovely story, Pam. I really appreciate you sharing this with us.
Thank
Uh,
you for letting me.
so beautiful. So people want to, if our viewers want to find you on YouTube, you guys are at Haunt. Remind me again the name. Is it Haunted Encounter in Adventures?
Yes.
Okay, on YouTube.
Yes.
Jeff and Pam Woolwine, thank you again so much for your time, for your experiences, for your talent. Oh, we gotta see this mirror. Would you look at that? That's really cool. Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. It is very cool.
I'm
A little
afraid to look
creepy.
in it because I don't know what I might see.
Almost looks like something Snow White's
And
stepmother
it's
would have,
heavy.
or
It's
something.
heavy.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah, it's really heavy.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you for letting me have a hour of fun.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad
absolutely.
you had fun.
It is our pleasure to have you guys come on, share all of these touching tales and absolutely fascinating devices and footage. And of course, you guys, we'd love to have you back, and hopefully you come back. I'm glad Jeff is already back after just a couple weeks, and hopefully we get to see you guys a lot more in the future too.
So hopefully next
Okay,
time you guys
yeah.
come on, you guys can break down what you guys do for the seances to get
Okay,
things
he
going
want.
next time.
Okay, here.
Hello.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Also, follow Haunted Encounter Adventures on YouTube. Uh, and then, of course, also Jeff's other channel regarding the UFOs, which is the Phoenix Lights um, Petroglyphs in the Sky.
Right.
And we
Thank you.
will catch you guys next time. And until then, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.
Thank you, guys.